extraordinary job, as I said yesterday, in the David and Goliath Stakes.
And working down at Williams, a pit crew waiting for Alex Albon. Ted Kravitz.
I mean, it looks okay. It's all going in a straight line. It's all pointed, but this is retirement. Alex Albon turns off the car, and then the mechanics put the fans in. And what a disappointment for Alex. Of course, the Singapore Grand Prix, so important to Alex. The closest race of the year to his to Thailand, of course, where his family is from and under which flag he races. He really wanted a good result here. Went bad from the lap one, didn't it, Crofty, and got worse. We'll get a reason for retirement, but we've seen those things happen, especially at the back of the car after pit stops. Can put stresses through the car. I'll find out what's happened, get back to you.
Thank you very much. Car overheating. Alex Albon was told the Marina Bay circuit 337 miles from the border with Thailand. Anthony, to you.
Yeah, so I was listening into Albon's radio, and he was indeed told to box the car. You could see it's overheating, but they believe there might be something in one of the ducts. I think that's what I could just make out, so that would make sense, wouldn't it, with it overheating there at the rear.
So, Carlos Sainz, now he's warmed up his hard compound tyres, is lapping in the 1 minute 36s. Lando Norris is lapping still in the 1 minute 36s. He is 12 seconds out in front, and no one else is getting anywhere close to those times.
Trouble for Sainz is he's now going to catch Bottas, Zhou Guanyu, Stroll and Gasly rapidly. Presumably he'll have enough grip, and that's not him, of course, that's Leclerc, but when he gets there he should have enough speed and grip to sail past those drivers, and he needs to.
Certainly does. The trouble he's got is that Bottas and Zhou and Stroll, they're not going to be pitting anytime soon because they started on those hard compound tyres. So do Ferrari think about an undercut here with Charles Leclerc? Because he's in a position where he could quite easily jump Alonso and Hülkenberg, as Hamilton is now going to come in with a clever undercut.
Yeah, Leclerc was nearly having a chat with the wall there when we went on board with him, as Hamilton pits to get rid of those soft tyres. Presumably if Russell's got performance to spare, we're about to see it.
Well, Hamilton pits. His teammate George Russell might be thinking about pitting too, because Oscar Piastri is right up his rear wing, and the undercut is very possible there, but we think McLaren are going long with Oscar Piastri. We should give George a bit of breathing space for the time being. 2.5 seconds stationary for Hamilton. Where is he going to come out, though, into this race? Charging down towards turn one is Kevin Magnussen. Hamilton should slot back in behind him.
Norris is sort of building himself. He's starting to head towards building himself a pit stop window over Max Verstappen in second place. 12 seconds clear now, and taking the thick end of a second a lap out of him. So Norris flying along at the front.
So we got the feeling when we last heard from George Russell, Martin, that he wasn't really showing his true pace in this race because he was behind his teammate and couldn't get close enough to make the overtake. Now we'll see what the true pace is.
We'll see what he's got. And that's Piastri behind him.
Can he pull away from Oscar Piastri, put some daylight, get out of that undercut threat?
And good job on the brakes.
Yeah, but they react completely differently now.
So presumably he's been cooling those down a little bit, and now doesn't like the feel of them.
Yeah, he's just backed off a little bit behind Fernando Alonso. He's out of the DRS range to cool them down and get some air running through them.
And we mustn't forget, Ferrari still fancy a chance at the Constructors' Championship, don't they? But with Leclerc in 8th and Sainz making his way back from currently P17, this is not how they need it to be playing out today.
It's not how Red Bull needed it to be playing out either. 2nd and 9th with Verstappen and Perez, while McLaren, championship leaders of course for the first time since 2014, are running 1st and 4th currently. And Lando Norris at the moment running his own race and is now 13.5 seconds nearly clear of Max Verstappen.
Piastri hanging on to the back of Russell, so as you say, will these two now just give it absolutely full performance, or will they need to cover off others who have made pit stops as well? But Sainz then has cleared one of the Saubers, but still hasn't cleared Zhou Guanyu. This is the pain he's going to take coming through there, and he's in the 38s when he should be in the 36s.
Absolutely, but look, he's gaining, and he's gaining on Zhou Guanyu as we head down Raffles Boulevard past the hotels and the shopping centre, and he's picked up a nice little purchase there to put that Ferrari up into 16th. Right, we are running on lap 20 of the Singapore Grand Prix. 19 still running. It's a 4th retirement of the year for Alex Albon, but why? Ted Kravitz.
Yeah, confirmed by the team as a power unit overheating problem. So whether he picked up a visor tear off or a bag or something in his radiators after the pit stop, that's what led to Albon actually retiring from the race. But I'm seeing some action in the McLaren box, pit box, Crofty. I'm just wondering if now is the time for Piastri to come in and try maybe a little bit of a cheeky undercut on George Russell, because you see the pace of Norris. That's the same car Piastri is driving, and Piastri's no slouch. So I know it's the long game you've been talking about, Oscar Piastri, but he's got to get on with it at some point, doesn't he?
And Lando Norris now 34.5 seconds ahead of Hülkenberg, Alonso and Leclerc. He can afford to make a pit stop and will not get caught up in traffic. He'd come out behind his teammate. So Norris has bought himself quite a lot of options here.
Certainly has. We're on board with Lewis Hamilton after his pit stop. He has some overtaking to do, and the first driver ahead of him that he can get close to is Kevin Magnussen. He pulls out to the right-hand side and makes that move before the corner. I am seeing there was quite a few marbles already building up off the racing line, which certainly doesn't help overtaking, because you get onto the slippery stuff and it stays on your tyres for a little bit longer, and it rather affects your pace. No problems whatsoever with that pace of Lando Norris. Nearly 15 seconds clear of Max Verstappen. George Russell running in 3rd. Now that he's been freed, he's about half a second a lap clear of Oscar Piastri. He's put some distance between himself and that McLaren.
Hülkenberg looking more in his mirrors than out the front of the car down the straight there to make sure he's not about to have a lunging Fernando Alonso coming past him.
I think I clipped the wall on the way into the plane and just left. Look.
Well, he says that. They're running out into the pit lane at McLaren. And was that a bit of a dummy? Because Oscar Piastri has gone straight past and completed another lap. So it's as you were, everybody.
Back in the blankets, we know what tyres they'll be putting on that. It's the only tyre to put on it, frankly, isn't it? Because they started on the mediums, they've got to run 2 different compounds, of course. And a dry race.
On board with Carlos Sainz at the end of the DRS zone at turn 16, and that time around got tantalizingly close to Fernando Alonso, but Alonso is cunning and he is wily and he's not going to be overtaken very easily, and you can see him harvesting the energy.
Lando, for our race, we just want to go as long as possible, so if we need to look after the tyres, we will. We just don't want to be the first person to pit between you and Max.
Because we might want some tyre life, extra performance life towards the end. And to be honest, Verstappen could pit now and Lando could probably stay out for another 3 or 4 laps and still be clearly ahead of Verstappen when he pits. Here comes Carlos Sainz, and eventually he gets his man. Carlos Sainz here gets Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin, moves up into 15th, and Charles Leclerc continues on behind Fernando Alonso in the other Ferrari versus Aston Martin battle. And if Nico Hülkenberg is struggling a bit, not running the right pace, he is doing a super job for Haas to keep those 2 at bay. Did Lewis Hamilton clip the wall? He certainly had the slide.
It had the slide. It's difficult to know from that camera angle. It didn't look like he was going to hit the wall, did it? I think it was just a slide.
Doesn't need those tyres again. He was just a bit worried that the slide was because he might have glanced the wall and he didn't feel it. And there might be damage to the car. There is Lewis Hamilton behind Esteban Ocon. These fresh tyres certainly helping his pace and helping him get some overtakes done as we head towards turn 1. You can see those marbles, those bits of discarded rubber from the tyres off the racing line as they head through turns 1, 2 and 3.
The benefit really, I mean, Norris, Verstappen and Russell are all in clear air because the gaps are so enormous actually at the moment. But they've got that, but Norris is just a plain second a lap faster than Verstappen.
That McLaren works so well in free air, and Lewis Hamilton wants a bit more free air and cleaner air as well, and he's got past Esteban Ocon to move himself up into 11th. He's pitted, Carlos Sainz has pitted, Daniel Ricciardo has pitted, and Alex Albon pitted too, and is the only retirement of the suspected power unit issue from this race.
First stop before everyone.
We are one of the earlier stoppers, but not the earliest.
Yeah, so they're way too short.
Yeah, Lewis feeling he didn't need to come in that early, and it was a good. I'll try and see if we see it again, but when we watch the yellow glove of Lewis come across when you turn the wheel, you block your own view out basically with your hand. There you see it now on the Ferrari. You literally block your forward view, but you're not looking out the front. You're looking sort of across the top of the two, in front of the two tyres. You're looking to the left or the right, depending on the corner. Otherwise, you literally can't see where you're going.
I wonder if the pace at the front from Lando Norris and the subsequent chain reaction from it was just too fast for those soft compound tyres right at the start of this race, and that's what's put Lewis Hamilton into an earlier stop than A, he was thinking, and B, he would have liked. He had to try and keep with that pace, couldn't, without coming in too early.
He obviously started on the soft compound, which looks like a mistake, doesn't it? Because it didn't give him any advantage on the first lap or two, and it means he had to come in earlier. Yeah, I think that mistake was probably made this morning rather than during the race.
Very good point. But having stopped now, he may or may not suffer towards the end of the race, but he might be able to keep that place, keep ahead of his teammates George Russell by the time Russell and everyone in between Hamilton make their stops.
Oh, this is so frustrating. How many laps are we going to do like this?
Keep calm.
Well, you can understand it, because he has been tucked up behind Fernando Alonso and Nico Hülkenberg, who's doing a super job to protect that, what is currently 5th place and a net 6th. But for Charles Leclerc, he can just see any hopes of a top 5 finish just disappearing at the moment.
There's nothing they can do. They can't magic him up the road, and they're right to say keep calm, because drive angry, the car goes sideways and backwards, doesn't go forwards. And it's just a very good point of, look, that's the hand we've been dealt today after a poor qualifying. Let's see how it plays out. We're nowhere near half distance yet.
We're only on lap 24 out of 62. Ted, down to you.
I know it's frustrating. I feel Charles Leclerc's pain, but, Alonso and Hülkenberg are driving really well to keep him behind him. Just a quick one on Piastri. Do you think we're looking, Crofty, at them trying to clear Lewis Hamilton with their stop? Because the McLaren mechanics feel a bit sorry for them. They've all got their helmets and balaclavas on. They've been in and out of that McLaren pit box more times than, something that's been in and out of something very often. But anyway, they're not, are they trying to get 30 seconds on Hamilton to make sure that they come out? Because at the moment, they haven't got it, have they? But they're short about 3 seconds.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'll tell you who's not short at the moment of the seconds he needs is Carlos Sainz, who I think has undercut Charles Leclerc with that early pit stop. There's a 24-second gap between Leclerc and Sainz at the moment. Leclerc can pit, his teammate will be ahead of him.
That will please him massively, won't it? He's already not very happy.
Quite. Let's go to the pit wall at RB. Lauren Mekis is with us, running 10th, and with Daniel Ricciardo running 19th. Lauren, give us the story of your race so far. Why the early pit stop for Daniel Ricciardo?
Yes, look, we had to pit a bit earlier than planned with Daniel. We anyway started on the new soft with him to try to be aggressive. We didn't make any places at the start, but we wanted to give him a chance to move back up on the grid. We pitted early. We had a little bit of concern with some debris in the brake duct, but it's now cleared, so he's putting some good laps together. Obviously, he's at the back of the pack, but he's free air and as it's getting back onto the guy right now.
And Yuki running in 10th place. He's got Lewis Hamilton right behind him. Are you worried about the potential of undercuts behind Yuki Tsunoda?
Well, we have a bit of a margins behind Yuki with, Lewis has pitted already, so we are not that threat with that. He's probably going to pass us. This is the most likely scenario. We have a bit of margin on Ocon behind, so we are not really looking at the threat of the undercuts. We are trying to see how much we want to extend this stint and see if there is a chance to get a bit closer to the guys in front.
Kevin Magnussen struggled on the hard compound tyres early in the race, but they seem to have come into the right zone now, would you say?
Yeah, you're right. The guys that were on hard at the beginning, you know, Stroll, Magnussen, they all seem to struggle a little bit. So you don't really want to beat behind them either. But yeah, it's becoming a bit more reasonable now for them. But certainly it's probably one of the reasons you see most of the car trying to hold on their medium tires, because the performance on the hard didn't look great on those cars.
Thanks ever so much, Laurent. Maybe speak to you a little bit later. Lewis Hamilton not happy with the strategy he's been given here, trying to chase down Yuki Tsunoda. You're killing me with this offset, he's saying. Charles Leclerc has finally got past Fernando Alonso into turn 16. He's made that stick as we watch now. Yuki Tsunoda passed by Lewis Hamilton, who goes very wide at turn 16, and that just gives the place back to Tsunoda again. And Alonso pits from 7th.
Wow, Lewis was super late on the brakes down there, wasn't he? That was never gonna make the corner, and that's cost him dearly. The offset that Lewis was talking about, you know, you pitted me early. I'm now out of sync with the drivers around me. They're pitting later. They'll have fresher tyres. They'll have an offset tyre life at the end of the race.
Yeah, and overtaking is not impossible here. Yes, it might be difficult. And Lewis is feeling that the defence might be just a little bit too improbable for him by the time it all converges in the closing stages. Fernando Alonso comes back out onto the track ahead of his teammate Lance Stroll, who hasn't pitted yet. And this is how Hamilton got past Tsunoda, and on the braking went too deep.
Yeah, it just... so Tsunoda starts harvesting battery power. Lewis...
Definitely wrong with the car. Tyres are dropping off. Yeah, that's also driven.
Yeah, the anchors, he put the anchors out too late there. That was never going to make the apex.
It's not a nice moment for Lewis Hamilton or Toto Wolff, and Mercedes. Well, their team boss might just be rubbing his head with his hand in a few moments' time once again. Because look how close Oscar Piastri is to George Russell. I've been keeping an eye on this. The last 4 or 5 laps, Piastri has been steadily gaining on George Russell. So that pace that we were seeing in the opening stages, where he was biding his time, seems to be giving him benefits now. And it's coming good with performance life in those tyres to try and get some overtaking done.
Yeah. And this high wing, high downforce setup on the McLaren, where Norris dominated.
Rear tyres are quite bad now.
Yep, understood. That shouldn't be too long.
Sounds like the next bus, doesn't it? But yeah, where they ran this high downforce setup, where Norris dominated so much back in Zandvoort, and it's working beautifully again, isn't it?
Shouldn't be too long was the message there from GP to Max Verstappen. They trying to build a gap, Anthony Davidson to Hulkenberg.
Well, no, the front two, Crofty, they're just waiting it out because of the safety car. If that happened to either one of them, then the one that pits obviously under safety car would be the clear winner.
Okay.
So that's what they're waiting. They're just standing off, aren't they? And neither wants to be the first one to jump.
Just wondering, because Hulkenberg at the moment is probably about a lap and a half away from being a pit stop behind Max Verstappen. As we watch George Russell against Oscar Piastri, we see Carlos Sainz in his battle to thread his way through the field. Got Esteban Ocon ahead of him, but not for much longer, as he's going to squeeze down the inside there and claim 11th place from Esteban Ocon, and that's how he got past Kevin Magnussen. Ted, down to you as George Russell comes in.
Yeah, so they've waited for long enough for a goal hanging for a safety car that's never going to come. So George is going to see what he can do from here. But Fernando Alonso has jumped. He's undercut Nico Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg hasn't stopped yet, but Alonso's done a brilliant outlap, and the lap after that, he's done enough to clear Hulkenberg in those stops.
And I wonder now, McLaren might be ruining not having they did those fake sort of pit stop moves, didn't they? Not bringing Piastri in, because that's going to give Russell a massive amount of pace to build a gap to Piastri.
We're on board with Charles Leclerc, but Piastri's just been given the hurry up by his race engineer. This is the race now, time to go, is the message over the team radio. Now he's been freed from behind George Russell. Let's see what he's got.
Okay, mate, this is the race, let's go.
There you go, confirmation of that particular radio message. So Norris and Verstappen and Piastri, the top three yet to pit. Hülkenberg, Leclerc, Colapinto, Perez haven't pitted. Russell is the first of the drivers that have made a pit stop.
This is working out horribly for Charles Leclerc, though, isn't it? Yeah. He's losing net places while he's tucked up behind the Haas. He's just losing out to those that are pitted.
And this is the defensive job that Nico Hülkenberg's doing. It's doing wonders, I'm sure, for his race, but as you say, wrecking at Charles Leclerc's. But he wouldn't have been down in 9th place if his tyres gave him enough grip into turn 1, but they've got enough grip there going into the right-hander at turn 16, and finally Charles Leclerc can get past the Haas. He is up into 4th place.
And didn't pit, of course. That was just before the pit lane, so probably elected to do something a little different there and just keep going. And let's see what Piastri's got. Piastri's virtually matching Norris out front now, and that's the kind of pace he needs, because Russell will fly on these tyres.
I'll tell you one person who is pitting, it's Sergio Perez, who was steadily making his way through the field. But now's a good time to get him back out into the racetrack with a decent gap to perform the way he wants without cars around him. Hard tyres have gone on, 2.2 second pit stop, which is a fairly rapid stop there for the Red Bull team, who've come out ahead, they hope, of Zhou Guanyu.
Front wing damage, maybe front wing damage.
So where has Lando Norris picked up a bit of front wing damage? Has he gone over a curb? Is that the issue? We're on board with Lando Norris. The trouble is you can't see much of the front wing, and Max Verstappen is coming into the pits now. Now, he was saying, Martin, he wanted to pit, he needed to pit, but do they just sense at Red Bull, now's a really good time to pit, Max, try the undercut, which wouldn't necessarily work unless Norris has got to replace that front wing.
Yeah, he touched the wall, he locked up into turn 14, I'm hearing, so we'll get a replay of that. But it takes about 12 seconds to change the nose and front wing, and of course he's got that in hand with the lead he's built. But Norris concerned then that he may have damaged the front wing, but they'll look at the suspension loads from the data on the car and quickly work out if they think that he's lost some front downforce.
Verstappen comes out wheel to wheel here, neck and neck with Charles Leclerc. Leclerc, that was touch and go, gets ahead of Max Verstappen, and whilst Charles Leclerc has not pitted yet, the last thing Red Bull really wanted is Verstappen to be stuck behind the Ferrari.
Yeah, he won't be there long though, will he?
Well, you wouldn't think so, but let's see. As we head down Raffles Boulevard, is Max Verstappen within striking distance? No, he's not. He's got at least a few more corners to go. Hülkenberg's pitting. Colapinto is pitting. Ocon is pitting as well. Hülkenberg with a 3-second stop. The Williams crew 2/10 quicker with Franco Colapinto.
But you're right in what you say. The last thing Red Bull needed was for him, and it looked a decent Red Bull stop, didn't it? Was for him to lose any time, even if it's on the outlap, as Norris pits from the lead.
Ted Kravitz is down there. Down to you, Ted.
Right, let's have a look at this front wing then, shall we? Looks okay from where I can see, and they get to work. Very nice, of course, they're not changing it. And if there is any damage, it's small enough not to be able to be seen, Crofty. Let's see if you can see it on your head-on shots. But I don't think there's much damage to that front wing. Looks okay to me.
Not much damage to Verstappen's race. He's not tucked up behind Leclerc for long, and he's back up into 3rd place.
Yeah, it looked fine, didn't it? We saw them adjusting something on it, but that's standard. When you change compounds, you either want more or less front wing to balance the aerodynamics up with the different tyres.
So after Verstappen pitted a lap earlier, Lando Norris came into the pits, changed his tyres, continues in the lead of this race. Last 2 Singapore Grand Prix have been led from start to finish, and this race in 2024 is being led from start to lap 31 by that man there, Lando Norris.
Yeah, Oscar Piastri's heart's just sunk a bit. He's not pitted yet, and still Norris is out in front of him. That's what it's cost him in the traffic and cost him in qualifying yesterday, as Norris still busy collecting the McLaren up there in the traction zone.
Verstappen absolutely flying, not overly happy with the strategy that he's been given. And let's see what it looked like from on board as he rounds the inside of turn 2 and then suddenly sees a Ferrari right in front of him.
I
just don't get it why we let him undercut us by so far. It's just so stupid.
I think what Max doesn't realise is that he's not really been undercut. The Ferrari's a pit stop behind him. I think that's why. Well, he thinks he's just lost track. He has, effectively, but he thinks he's lost race position, and he hasn't in reality, and he hasn't in fact now.
I'm sure the message was relayed back. Look, it's not our fault. Charles Leclerc finally got past Nico Hülkenberg and is showing a lot more pace than he was able to before. Look at that. So McLaren 1-2 at the moment. Lando Norris leads from Oscar Piastri. 3 and a bit seconds, the difference between the two McLarens. Piastri has not pitted in this race yet.
You see a small issue with the front wing, nothing serious.
And your gap to Max Verstappen, by the way, is round about 20 seconds, 21 seconds between Norris and Verstappen. So Randy Singh, racing director at McLaren, overseeing strategy with the strategy team. Head full of numbers throughout each and every one of the 62 laps here tonight.
Verstappen quicker in this phase, certainly on this lap, than Norris out front by a couple of tenths in the first sector. And a bit of an incident now there between Gasly and Hülkenberg that's been noted. Having a look at now, what are we going to see?
So is this where Lando Norris thought that he'd hit the wall?
Yeah.
And how close is it? There's the lock-up, there's the lock-up. Oh, he might have brushed it, but he didn't bag it.
Yeah, wow. Lucky escape. He nerfed it, didn't he? But it was quite soft. The wall was quite soft there. He's locked the front. He's obviously, his tyres are getting a little bit thin and losing temperature. And Lando has, that's the wrong side of the front wing. It's the other side we need to be looking at. There's nothing hanging off it, is there? Anyway.
I tell you what, Martin, we've seen incidents like that where a driver has touched the wall harder and it's absolutely destroyed their race. And
yeah, AFM, so traction metrics, everything's looking really good at the moment.
That is not the answer that I expected there. I thought, go George, go, what might be a better encouragement message, but traction metrics, it's very engineer motivation, isn't it?
I don't think George was looking for how well he's doing and a gold star. I think he was...
And these laps are crucial. Keep driving like this.
Yeah, I think he was sort of asking for, give me some tools to work with.
Traction metrics, all about limiting the wheel spin on the cars, by the way. I was just going to say, you need a bit of luck to go out and win races and maybe win championships, and Lando Norris just had a bit of luck at 14.
I mean, yeah. Another half metre of slide and he'd have been reversing out of there with a broken front wing.
No further investigation needed. Gasly and Hülkenberg. Anthony Davidson, let's head down to you.
So I've just been listening to Oscar Piastri's radio. They're telling him at the moment that he's matching Lewis Hamilton's lap time, so that's the fight that we need to be keeping an eye on.
Yeah, we do. And what's the gap between Hamilton and Piastri? Round about 20 seconds at the moment. Around about 30 seconds at the moment. I just wonder if the pit stop delta, so what you lose by coming in for a pit stop, Martin, is about 28. That's right. Yeah. Then Piastri has got a pit stop over Hamilton here.
Yeah. His pace has been solid, Piastri. I thought he has dipped into the 37s, but you know, obviously his tyres have done 34 laps of this race so far, and there it is, confirmation on the screen. 28 seconds it costs you to get down the pit lane, stop, put some tyres on, and while your rivals are thrashing down the pit straights.
But I think, looking at the timing screens, if Piastri's going to pit and come out ahead...
The target lap will be the Plan C target lap. It will be the lap for Plan C.
Could be. Front right, starting to struggle a bit.
He might need to pit at the end of this lap to make that stop, come out ahead of Lewis Hamilton. We'll see as Yuki Tsunoda comes into the pits. That frees up Carlos Sainz, who pitted much earlier, and Sainz up into 7th place and is currently some 22 seconds behind his teammate Charles Leclerc, who is yet to stop, and if he stopped now would come out behind his teammate. Ted, down to you.
Well, that's the thing about Charles Leclerc. He's the one who really needs some encouragement, because if Leclerc stopped now, he'd come out around the Hulkenberg Alonso battle where he was stopped before. His engineer, Leclerc's engineer, says, look, we need you to keep matching the lap times you're doing in the sort of low 38s, but it's a really difficult ask for Leclerc on 33-year-old medium tyres. Just to say that Alonso did well and truly undercut Hulkenberg. So great strategy from Aston Martin. And in fact, Alonso has now cleared Hulkenberg by some 7 seconds. So great work, Fernando Alonso.
Oscar, we're tempted to stay out. That would mean you had to overtake Hamilton after the stop. How would that be?
I'm sure it's a great idea.
He thinks get in now and negate that need to do the overtake. Overtaking's tricky, as George Russell is proving behind Charles Leclerc here. Russell has pitted and has jumped his teammate Lewis Hamilton in the round of pit stops. Leclerc still yet to come in.
Yeah, I mean, Piastri's tyre delta would be massive because Hamilton stopped on lap 17. Remember, Sainz also went in on lap 13 it was. So they're trying to get tyres a very long way in this Grand Prix. But Piastri doesn't seem confident that...
We're pulling Piastri back into our window very slowly. Only 1 second at stake.
I think they've missed the moment, Martin. I think they've missed the moment to get Piastri in now and out ahead.
They're waiting for a safety car, aren't they, with Piastri?
Yeah.
That's what they're hoping to do. And if there isn't a safety car, this will be, by some margin, the fastest Singapore Grand Prix of all time.
It certainly would. We've been going 57 minutes so far, and we're on lap 35 out of 62. Normally by this stage, Martin, we're thinking, well, it's probably about another 40-odd laps to go here, but now we've got that taken out 4 corners. We've got a new DRS zone. Might get home in time for a cup of cocoa.
Might even catch the plane.
Lap 35 is 62 then. Gap out in front, 9 seconds. Norris over Oscar Piastri. Max Verstappen currently 21 seconds behind Lando Norris, lapping about 0.3 of a second slower than the closest driver in the championship to him. As we see George Russell once again trying to get it closer to Charles Leclerc. Turn 16, he's got to go around the outside, goes off the track as Charles Leclerc decided, you are not passing me at this particular moment, and he's going to get frustrated once more.
Yeah, there are a lot of marbles sort of on the turning point, on there to the last corner, for example. And Russell quite rightly yielding immediately. And who's that coming up behind him? It's Fernando Alonso, isn't it?
Behind Carlos Sainz, Lewis Hamilton's coming up behind George Russell, who's been rather held up here by Charles Leclerc. It's kind of bringing Lewis Hamilton back into the game with his teammate at the moment, running in 6th place. We've lost one driver for this race, Alex Albon, with a suspected power unit, and we've seen absolutely no signs of the safety car yet. We haven't had a safety car for 8 Grand Prix. We've had a safety car at every one of the Singapore Grand Prix. Something has to give on that one tonight.
I think the drivers are in good form, aren't they? The cars are reliable. The cars stick to the road well. There's a bit of get a jail-free zone there that George Russell had to utilise.
That's what it looked, going wheel to wheel.
I mean, if you're unfamiliar with
George Russell,
Western Playlands and Eastern Playlands, then yes, it's definitely.
So to go around the outside, you've basically got to have your front wheel ahead of their mirror to have earned the right to any space. They are the driving
on top of that,
standard regulations at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm already
I'll give you a question here, Martin.
So
I know it's counterintuitive, but is trying to press Charles Leclerc for an overtake doing George Russell any good in the long run, or does he need to kind of drop back a little bit, hold position, just wait for Leclerc to pit in a few laps' time?
As long as I pay
he certainly doesn't want to trip over him, but you know he's in the 139s at the moment. That doesn't work for George. That's costing him dearly. While Leclerc tries to eke, and that's sorted it out, hasn't it?
I shouldn't say this. If I die, it would be my own fault.
Come on.
Hulkenberg down in 9th place and currently on his way through turn 15 now towards 16, where Leclerc held up George Russell just a couple of laps ago. On the squealing of tyres go the hard compounds. Nico Hulkenberg is just rounding the final couple of corners. 60 kilometres an hour the pit lane speed here, one of 4 tracks with a 60 kilometres an hour pit lane speed. It's slow, but it's not quite slow enough to give Nico Hülkenberg a chance to get ahead of Charles Leclerc. So the Haas right behind the Ferrari. 2 Ferrari-powered cars here. New tyres now for Charles Leclerc. Warmed up hard tyres for Nico Hülkenberg, who was the fastest Ferrari driver during qualifying 3. Piastri is struggling on his tyres a bit as the DRS zone down the Raffles Boulevard can't get Nico Hülkenberg any closer.
Yeah, as they wear, they obviously start to lose temperature, and that hurts you under braking, as we saw with Lando Norris. Piastri's done well to get the tyres that far. Leclerc now can set off after Alonso and Sainz, and I think this has played out quite nicely for him once he got some free air.
Sainz pitted on lap. Yeah. A long time ago, and a very long time ago by the time we get to the last 10 laps of this race. I can see a scenario here where Sainz is desperately defending against Fernando Alonso and Charles Leclerc is behind the 2 of them, thinking he can pick up some places. This is Gasly in his battle with Kevin Magnussen, and there comes Sergio Perez blasting his way through the marbles to get past the Alpine into the right-hander at the end of that 4th DRS zone. And that's where Franco Colapinto bailed out and left the track. He's been noted for leaving the track and gaining an advantage.
Yeah, I think he might be in trouble with that one. He immediately overtook, didn't he, down the next straight,
yeah.
if I'm reading that replay correctly.
So Sergio Perez now has Hülkenberg ahead of him, the gap of about 1.5 seconds. Daniel Ricciardo, who was the first driver to pit in this race, a long way behind Franco Colapinto, and you would imagine won't go to the end of the race, will have to pit again. And Ted, we can head down to you. 2 seconds. Yep. Ted, you've got company in the pit lane very shortly.
Pierre Gasly.
Guess who's coming in?
Pierre Gasly? Who? No, Pierre Gasly is coming in, I promise you.
Oh, yeah, he is. Yeah,
Oscar Piastri.
I was thinking more Oscar Piastri, yes.
Well, Pierre Gasly's hanging out for, just passes the McLaren mechanics right in front of me. There is the number 10 coming in. So he was goal hanging for a safety car. And it's the soft tyres. Oh, it's a slow stop. Oh, slow stop. Bad luck Alpine on the right rear. And it's the soft tyres onto Gasly, like Tsunoda. That's a weird choice at this point in the race, but hey-ho, we'll see how it goes. But finally, Oscar Piastri makes his stop, and again, that's smart work, quick work by the McLaren guys. Very nice stop, felt like a 2.3, I don't have it in front of me.
2.2, our veteran reporter strikes again.
But Piastri out there on the hard tyres, he will go to the end as McLaren seek to make this a 1-2. Can Piastri do something about that?
He's jumped the 2 Mercedes. Here has Oscar Piastri with a very nice strategy that has worked out well for him. Can he get past Max Verstappen and is charged now to the end of the race? Sorry, he's not jumped the 2 Mercedes.
Yeah, he's behind both Mercedes actually at the moment, but with a massive tyre offset to Lewis Hamilton that Lewis pointed out early doors.
Absolutely. No further investigation for Franco Colapinto. So he can breathe again. Yeah, is this strategy going to work? He's bided his time, he's preserved his tyres. Now, you haven't got that many laps to go. You go and use every single last ounce of performance out of them and see what you can come back with. Will be the instructions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm expecting Piastri to really fly now. Norris has, what's he got, 23.5 seconds, hasn't he? Just over 23 seconds out front. He can pace himself nicely there. Got an answer to anything out there.
2 Alpines heading down the Esplanade. There is Esteban Ocon on the inside of his teammate. It's not the easiest stopping zone there because it is a little bit downhill, but it's looking very nice there for Esteban Ocon, but not looking too nice for his teammate, who's really struggling before that pit stop as Magnussen got past it. Esteban Ocon, who has retired the last 3 years here at Singapore and has only ever scored points in one race here, and that was back in 2017. Lewis Hamilton didn't like the strategy that he's been put on by the Mercedes team. I think he's going to like it even less very shortly because Oscar Piastri is right behind him now.
Yeah, I think Lewis was painted in the corner with that used soft tyres on the grid, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That didn't pay any dividends whatsoever. Brought him into the pits early. Piastri will be flying. He'll have so much more grip than Hamilton and DRS. He needs to lunge him early. He wants to get after George Russell.
And he has done so. Hamilton made him go the long way round, but his long way round was still short enough for Piastri to get the move done, and gets his first round of applause, and he's looking for a couple more as well.
He's not shy, is he, Oscar Piastri?
He is not.
Inside, outside, he'll have a go, but that was that now puts George Russell under a massive amount of pressure coming up.
Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso, the most experienced drivers on the grid. If you total up all their racing kilometres over their years, it's more than halfway from the Earth to the moon.
What are we waiting for?
We are discussing Yuki.
He wants to come in and pit. And whilst Hamilton couldn't do much to defend against Piastri, Alonso is giving proper defence once again here with Charles Leclerc right behind him.
No, I think what Tsunoda's saying is, why has Ricciardo not let me through? I'm on a different strategy. Why are we waiting before you move him out of the way?
Alonso has the inside line, but Charles Leclerc is far enough ahead to make that overtake. Going into turn 14, he's up into 7th place. And he's around about 4 seconds behind his teammate Carlos Sainz, who pitted on lap 13 an awful lot earlier.
Yuki, we need to stay calm. We need to stay calm.
It's clear.
Okay, Yuki, I'll tell you what we're doing. We close up and then we swap. We close up and then we swap.
Yeah, with the tire damage.
Well, he's running close, but not right up the rear wing, and you're asking a lot of any driver to slow down and swap with this distance between the two cars.
But what he's saying is, I'm close enough now within the sort of 3-second range. I'm damaging these soft tyres, which is already a pretty edgy, spicy sort of strategy anyway, isn't it? Put those tyres on the car in the closing stages.
If you were going into a race, Martin, with the possibility that it might be your last, especially for this season, and maybe the end of your career, would you comply with any orders that were coming your way?
Yeah, I think he's obliged to do that. Luckily, I finished 5th in my last race, and I didn't know it was my last race, so I didn't have any of that misery to contend with.
We're expecting an announcement at some stage in the next few days, as Daniel Ricciardo does very much comply and let Yuki Tsunoda through at the opportune moment where he doesn't lose too much time, and where Yuki Tsunoda can get DRS and get a bit of extra pace as well. So we're expecting an announcement. No official news, but the speculation is that Liam Lawson will be in that Red Bull car, that man there, for Austin and beyond. And if that happens, it's not guaranteed to be the end of Daniel Ricciardo. The word on the street is that he's still in the driver pool, and he's still in contention for a seat next season.
Piastri caught Russell by a second on the previous lap, so George Russell is about to have company.
In round about 3 laps' time. Papaya glowing under the lights here in the night in Singapore, and I'm sure George Russell could probably see him in his mirrors at the end of the straight. Ted Crouch, oh sorry, Martin.
I would say, and you do wonder, assuming Piastri can get past the Mercedes, whether he can set off after Verstappen in the closing stages as well. But it's a fairly tall order. He's 18 seconds behind Verstappen at the moment, Piastri, but with 20 laps to go. It's a tall order, but it's not out of the question. Ted, sorry.
That's right, Martin. Well, I mean, he's got the same car as Lando, hasn't he, Oscar? And Lando's currently 24 seconds ahead of Max, so I wouldn't put it past Oscar at all. I think we're about to see a bit of Ferrari strategy, team orders as well.
Swap positions, the orders come out, but it hasn't happened yet.
He needs to, if Leclerc's going to really solve anything and get anything back from this race, then Sainz needs to let him through. I think they've actually ordered him now. They've ordered him to let Charles by, haven't they, Crofty?
Yes, they have. Yeah, the instructions gone out. They're just waiting for the right time to do it. So we think. Yeah, he would overtake him anyway. He's just, I suppose Ferrari just saying, make it easy. Don't stress the tyres.
That last straight would have been a good opportunity to do that, but Piastri in the 135s now. Just there we go. And we've got Leclerc low 1 minute 36 is faster than the 2 leaders. Just showing you what they could have done if they didn't have such a miserable qualifying.
Absolutely. Charles Leclerc then is roundabout now 15 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton with fresher tyres. talking about could Piastri get past Russell and chase down Verstappen? Yeah, look, they're striking distance in 10 laps. Leclerc on Lewis Hamilton with a possible top 5 finish coming his way.
Yeah, and I think if Piastri clears Russell quickly, he's got a sniff, he's got a chance of Verstappen up there in second place. Anthony at Sky Race Control.
Yeah, just speaking of that fight with Russell, this imminent fight we're seeing on screen right now with Piastri closing in all the time. The last message I heard relayed to Russell was to make a switch change, which would actually, unfortunately, give him a bit more harvesting, so more D-rates, as they call it at Mercedes. That's their terminology, so it might be a bit easy.
If you keep this pace, we should catch Hamilton at the end.
Might catch him before the end, to be fair. I know it's only 1 point, but Piastri's now got the fastest lap. And Lando Norris is he's not a complete pit stop ahead, but it might be that in about 10 laps' time, he's got enough pace to have a free pit stop with Max Verstappen behind him, and McLaren might think it worth pitting him and going for that extra point.
Yeah, but why would you risk that? He's not 30 seconds ahead, but why would you risk that, you know, a stuck wheel nut or a broken jack? It's a big risk for a victory against a victory for one fastest. I hear what you say, unless Norris has actually got enough pace in there to do it for himself anyway without pitting.
That's a very good point. If, by the way, Lando Norris, including this race, wins every race between now and the end of the season and takes the bonus point for the fastest lap and wins the sprint races, and Max Verstappen finishes second in all of them, they'll be level on points going into the last lap in Abu Dhabi. That's why I asked the question about the bonus point.
You're absolutely right. It's critical, isn't it? But well, let's see. You're right, but he's not 30-odd seconds. You'd want to be 32 seconds clear, wouldn't you, before you took that gamble?
He might want his teammate to get a bit closer to Max Verstappen if he can as well.
So Leclerc still doing I-36s out there. Is a chance of interacting very end of the race if he can keep that pace up.
Stand by for some interaction. Don't go anywhere yet. Here comes Oscar Piastri, right behind George Russell. He's got those fresher tyres, has Oscar Piastri, pitted on lap 38. 27, lap 27 for George Russell. Here comes Piastri, but not enough to get past.
You get that sort of concertina effect, and the driver in front is always going to be on the throttle a car length or so earlier than you, and pulls away. You're sliding around in his turbulent air as well, and now Piastri's got some work to do. As you can see, the Mercedes harvesting electrical power, presumably to deploy that down one of the straights where it's really going to help him defend.
I think he's going to need it in a couple of turns' time as they turn right-handed at 88 miles an hour onto the Raffles Boulevard, where you'll approach the top speed in this race of just over 190 miles an hour. DRS assisting Oscar Piastri on his way. Once again, he's going to have to go the long way round, and once again, he does go the long way round, and George Russell tries to fight that out, but to the cheers of the crowds who line the streets down there in the packed grandstands, Piastri has got past. I tell you what, it's like a second home race for Australian motorsport fans. Singapore, we're, what, 5 hours from Perth, and not that much further from Melbourne, Sydney as well. A lot of Aussies in town, they'll love that move.
Piastri has put a lot of faith in both Mercedes drivers in that turn 7, but he knows he can do that. They don't want to lose their front wing with a nothing incident, but Russell was quite kind to him there, but I don't think he got any choice, frankly. Piastri is so much faster. So 1 and 3 now for Mercedes. Can Piastri get after Max Verstappen?
Well, that is going to be the charge, isn't it, now for Oscar Piastri. Ted, down to you.
Talk about Max Verstappen. He is doing a really, really good job. A 36.4 last time round, now a 36.6. You contrast that with Perez, his teammate in the same car, a 37.7. So over a second per lap slower is Perez. And Checo's trying as much as he can, but he can't get past Nico Hülkenberg. He's in P10, and it's these kind of performances from Checo where he's stuck behind cars or just doesn't have the pace. That's meaning that McLaren will again today extend their Constructors' Championship lead, won't they, Crofty? Especially if Piastri can get up close. What is he, 18 seconds behind Verstappen now, and maybe even challenging him in the next, 15, 18 laps we've got left. But Checo really struggling. Look at it the other way. Hulkenberg doing a great job holding up Perez in the Red Bull.
I think Hulkenberg's driven a super race today in that Haas and reaping the benefits of a good qualifying as well. And don't discount Franco Colapinto from joining this battle at the end if Hulkenberg continues to hold Sergio Perez up. Looking at the sector times, Max Verstappen, as Ted's saying, doing a super job. Is he matching Lando Norris or going a little bit faster than Lando Norris at times the last couple of laps? Norris has just put in a 1:35.9, which is his best lap of the race so far. And the reason why Verstappen would want to keep matching that is to stop any possibility of Norris thinking about another pit stop, but also to keep that Red Bull ahead of the charging Oscar Piastri, putting a 1:36.5.
Yeah, a 1:35.
The tyres are looking very good, Nico, very good.
A 1:35.9, that's only 0.3 off fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far for Lando Norris, so it's not out of the question. He could, in the last lap or two, with low fuel, have a go at stealing that point as well.
Well, we've seen that, haven't we, already this season, where he's taken that fastest lap bonus point on the last lap in Zandvoort when he won the race. Bonus point going to Charles Leclerc and to Ferrari at the moment, but let's focus in on this battle.
It's like the floor right here, mate.
I think it's more like a steam room if I was ever going to pick holes in that one, George. It's the humidity in the air, but if you've ever imagined running on the spots and holding a few weights in your hands while doing some jogging on the spot in a steam room, that is like the Singapore Grand Prix for a driver. That's Daniel Ricciardo, who sees Esteban Ocon down the inside, and then Kevin Magnussen straight away.
Charlie Leclerc just took 2.4 seconds out of Lewis Hamilton on the previous lap.
That's Lando Norris. Did he hit the wall here? He did. Oh, remember George Russell hit the wall on the other side of the track last year? Well, Lando has just hit the wall on the right-hand side. Just go back to that in a couple of moments. This is Ricciardo really struggling on his tyres out there. And Lance Stroll getting past in the Aston Martin. Ricciardo has now pitted.
Yeah, there's a little right kink into that turn. And it into the turn 10, and it catches them out. And that's a second lucky escape if he hasn't done any damage to the wheel rim, tyre or transmission there for Lando Norris. And it was...
Yeah, I've got traction points. Are you bouncing like a kangaroo? Copy that. Keep your head down. Do what you can.
Yeah, and it wasn't just a glancing blow, was it? That was a thump on that corner of the wall.
But I wonder, look, we're lap 48 out of 62, Martin. This is where the physical energy starts to really interfere with the mental precision and energy as well. This is where those little lapses are understandable and do happen.
Yeah, and you're right. That's very little more than that. Took Russell out of the race last year.
Yeah.
So Hulkenberg doing a good job keeping Perez at bay. 9th and 10th, the last 2 points, paying positions there. And not too far behind Fernando Alonso either. But what have we got then? Piastri, 3/10 quicker than Verstappen previous lap. And Norris does the fastest lap of the race. So he didn't hit the wall that hard, did he? And that's moved it quite well clear at a 34.9 as well.
Yeah.
Another championship point in his pocket for now.
I just wonder if you need a moment like that, just as a driver, and you can tell me because you've raced in some very atrocious races, just to, not to wake you up, but just to refocus you at a moment where the body is crying out for a sit down and a cup of tea.
Yeah, and yes, it does. And I think it's especially hard for Lando with such a comfortable lead. It's so easy to let your concentration lapse as your body is just crying out. You've got so much core temperature. He's probably run out of water out there, and the laps will not go fast enough for him now.
He's just been told on the team radio, full concentration, Lando, take a drink.
Yeah.
I would imagine whatever he's got in his drink pack is absolutely boiling hot by now.
Yeah, needs a tea bag in it, that's for sure. There's nothing worse than drinking hot energy drink. squirting it down the back of your throat.
Oh, delightful. Almost.
Okay, so full concentration now, take a drink.
There you go, Will Joseph with the message to Lando Norris. Yeah, drinking a roasting hot energy drink, probably about the same sort of feeling that Sergio Perez is getting. You know, just not the most pleasant position to be in, and he's not in a very pleasant position because Nico Hülkenberg's still doing a brilliant job in holding him up, and now Franco Colapinto is right on the tail of that one. And talking of on the tail, here comes Charles Leclerc, who's right on the tail of Lewis Hamilton, and we've seen this before at the Singapore Grand Prix, which can be a slow burner sometimes, but the last 10 laps with an offsetting tyre strategy, with fatigue setting in with the drivers in the hot, oppressive conditions, action is all around, mistakes can happen and things can change in the blink of an eye.
I think it definitely was a wake-up lap, wasn't it, for Lando? He scolded himself. He's had 2 lucky escapes now. Don't try and make it 3.
At the moment, he's on for the win, the pole, the fastest lap, and leading every lap as well, which would be a Grand Slam and will be his first Grand Slam in Formula One. And in terms of wins, it will be his 3rd of the season so far. The only driver other than Max Verstappen to win at least 3 Grand Prix this season. Charles Leclerc is absolutely blasting towards Lewis Hamilton here. Kevin Magnussen is feeling the opposites because he's got a puncture. Has he hit the wall, I wonder? Where is Kevin Magnussen on the track? He's down at turn 8. And that's a long way to go to bring that Haas. Oh, Kevin Magnussen on the track. He's down at turn 8. And that's a long way to go to bring that Haas home, if he can bring it home without shredding too much debris from the tyre onto the track. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton are heading down Raffles Boulevard. Magnussen at the moment heading towards turn 10. We're heading towards turn 7. Here goes Charles Leclerc down the inside on Lewis Hamilton. Did not fight that. 1 iota Lewis Hamilton because he realised he couldn't, given the performance in tyres to Charles Leclerc's advantage. There was nothing really Hamilton could do about that. Leclerc is up into the top 5. Kevin Magnussen continues to limp around here as he makes his way to turn 13. I'm wondering, I can't see, Martin, tyre debris on the track.
Well, the tyre looked intact, didn't it? So as long as he doesn't drive too quickly, he shouldn't start shredding the tread of that, and he is driving very slowly. There'll be white flags waving everywhere to say slow car ahead, and yeah, and he's hit the wall on the exit of turn 5, I'm told. So that's literally, he's probably just taken the tyre off the rim, or actually both broken the bead on the rim. There's turn 5. Wow, that wasn't much of a hit, was it?
It wasn't, but it's enough to... we heard it.
Yeah.
Felt it, moved the wall a touch. Bang. It hit it a bit harder than it first looked.
And he's immediately lost pressure in that tyre, so it's just literally taken the bead off the rim, or more likely broken the tyre rim.
Ted, down to you.
The Ferrari mechanics have come out into the pit lane. I think they're just covering what could be a safety car. To be fair, Ferrari mechanics have been...
How are these tyres for a restart? Question?
I think everybody would stop if there was a safety car restart. Yeah, to be fair, the Ferrari mechanics have been in and out of that pit box more often than I've been in and out of an ice bath this weekend. So, yeah, as it happens, they don't need a safety car because good old Kevin Magnussen, with a deflated left rear, has actually made it past me back into the pits.
Excellent. And will be stopping on his marks, or as near to his marks as he possibly can. And let's see if they can get the car back out again. Soft compound tyres, Martin, going on to Kevin Magnussen's Haas. Kevin Magnussen, who in 2018 and 2019 set the fastest lap here. His and Haas's only fastest laps in a Grand Prix. And with 10 laps to go, he's got a set of soft compound tyres on, which are new.
Yeah, so what he can do,
for Magnussen?
He can't score a point unless he's in the top 10, but he could stop Norris scoring the fastest lap point. Is the pivotal thing here, isn't it? You're not allowed. You don't get the point if you're not in the top 10 at the end of the race.
I have understeer and I have oversteer.
Got a bit of everything there, George, which is not a position you want to be in. That's not going to give you balance. What I would say, if Magnussen does go for the fastest lap, Lando Norris is once again getting into a position where he could pit and come out again and keep the lead, and might fancy getting that bonus point back again. And isn't that the wonderful thing about the bonus point for a fastest lap? We're having this discussion, they'll be having a discussion down at Woking in mission control, and it just puts a little strategic element into the end of a race.
Yeah, do you remember, was it Piastri's McLaren earlier on the weekend where the rear wheel nut stuck on, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, all that sort of thing's in your mind, but at the same time, you got to go for broke. But you know, they've got a comfortable victory here available to them. So let's see what they decide to do. But you're right, he is. I mean, incredibly, Norris is virtually a pit stop ahead of Verstappen now.
And Verstappen driving well here, you know, to keep that Red Bull in second place.
Just kiss the wall. Take it over. We're right.
Have a little look, lads.
Hey, pressure's looking good at the moment.
Yeah, just have a look for me, just in case. Verstappen driving very well indeed, and that threat of Oscar Piastri charging after him, I think, has dissipated. That's gone away now.
And what they haven't had in this race is any kind of respite with a safety car, virtual safety car, red flag or whatever. It's been relentless, and there'll be a few drivers out there just struggling to keep focus, to keep the concentration.
Previous longest, I think it was lap 36 was the longest, or lap 35 was the longest we'd ever gone without a safety car here in Singapore, and we're on lap 53 now. So that's an awful lot of time without a respite in conditions that you really wouldn't want to be doing too much physical exercise, trust me. And Ted, down to you.
You're not wrong, Martin Crofty. You're never wrong, in fact, but you're not wrong about Oscar Piastri. In fact, the gap to Max Verstappen has now grown from 16 to 17, now 18 seconds last time round. So I think the McLaren pit wall are just advising Oscar just to bring it home from here, despite him having much younger tyres than the Red Bull ahead. But Crofty, do you know who's most impressed me today in this race?
Russell P1, 36.6.
What do you mean, Russell?
I meant Norris, but I didn't want to speak in the corners.
I don't care about Norris, you do Russell.
Yeah, to be fair, Lando Norris is not the guy who's racing, but Ted, carry on.
Yeah, the person who's impressed me is not George Russell, who can have understeer and oversteer at the same time, yet still drive a Formula One car very quickly, nor Lando Norris, who's now almost 30 seconds in front of Max Verstappen's Red Bull. It's Colapinto, Franco Colapinto, who's not had the break of a safety car, like you've just been saying, and has remained absolutely on it from a great start, has held on to Sergio Perez in front of him. It's only 1.7 seconds of scoring another point for Williams around an unforgiving street circuit. Hats off to Franco Colapinto. Vamos!
Vamos, Frankie. Kevin Magnussen has just set a new fastest lap of the race. As predicted, Ted Kravitz, if they move in that McLaren garage and get ready to come out, let us know. Martin.
Yeah, that's a conundrum now for McLaren, isn't it? They're 29 seconds ahead. They've just about got a pit stop in their pocket. They will have in another couple of laps.
You see on the track there, from the advertising, from the wrap that they put round some of these concrete barriers, with the cars going close to the wall, it's ripped off some of that plastic wrapping. I think it's off the racing line at the moment, but you wouldn't want it to float up into the air and get stuck in an air intake.
No, absolutely. We saw some of that at Monaco as well, didn't we?
Yeah.
With the advertising coming off the barriers.
Just chill out, bring this car home.
There's your answer.
Yeah, not going to pit. It's nearly 30 seconds. I wonder if Lando had been on the radio to ask about the fastest lap and to see if they needed to go for it.
They probably wouldn't tell him. But they don't need him trying to banzai a lap, do they? Hot and bothered, and a lot of marbles around and tyres a little bit second hand.
Sergio Perez we're watching from the front wing. This is what it feels like to race behind the Haas of Nico Hulkenberg for lap after lap after lap. And Franco Colapinto, after dropping back behind this battle, I think just to recharge his batteries for a couple of laps, is ever moving closer. He's 1.5 seconds behind Perez now. And then on the main footage, there's Charles Leclerc, who is around about 9/10 of a second a lap quicker than George Russell, and has got that gap down to about 3 seconds. And there is definitely time for George Russell to get some defending done and for Charles Leclerc to try and get some overtaking done before we see the checkered flag.
What did Ferrari say to us earlier today? From where they are, unless something strange happens in front of them, they hoped to get to 6th and 7th. They're 5th and 7th at the moment, the two Ferraris, but that is the cost of qualifying.
And Carlos Sainz might yet find himself under a bit of pressure, though, from Fernando Alonso. If you remember, Sainz stopped fairly early in this race on lap 13, and Alonso on lap 25. That's a 12 laps difference in the offset there, and Alonso's got that gap down to under 3 seconds. He just set his personal best fastest lap. Is Sergio Perez going to go for it? For one moment, he absolutely thought about it and then realised he was a bit too far back.
So, depending on how hard Norris pushes now, but this gang could well have the leader, and they have to get out of the way for the leader coming up behind them to lap them.
Lando Norris set the fastest lap again. He has 1:34.9. He has just taken a new fastest lap in this race.
No, so then Max must have lost his.
I think it was deleted.
Yeah, it was deleted. Yeah, it was deleted because that 34.9 is what he did before, and it's slower than Magnussen did. So Magnussen obviously went off the track, turn 2, track limits. It was deleted. So point back in Lando Norris's pocket.
He's having all the good luck today. Is Lando Norris twice brushing the wall, losing a fastest lap, and then getting it back without even having to go any faster himself. Certainly turning into a very fine night for the McLaren driver. And as it stands, he will reduce Max Verstappen's lead in the championship from 59 points. And he'll reduce that down by 8 points to 51, heading towards Austin next time out.
That's an incredible stat that, despite all the success they've had, Norris has taken 1 point out of Verstappen since Imola back in May.
Right.
Back in May, was that Imola? So it feels like it's been more than that, doesn't it?
But it does. But there've been challenges. Yeah. Mercedes had that great run just before the summer break. McLaren have been there or thereabouts, but Verstappen through it all has picked up the maximum amount of points that were available that weekend in a car that hasn't always been the fastest. Perez looks to me like he is getting closer to Hulkenberg, and certainly Colapinto is getting much closer to Perez as well. And what about George Russell and Charles Leclerc? That gap is now down to about 2.2 seconds.
Just a reminder how tricky the following effect is. Oscar struggled going through 3 cars. Be careful.
Is he going to lap someone? Oh,
yeah, he's coming up to lap a pile of people, as I mentioned. Colapinto, Perez, Alonso, and Hulkenberg's in there as well, isn't he?
And I wonder if Piastri not catching Verstappen, a lot of that's down to the traffic he's had to go through. Gasly and Joe and Bottas as well just recently. But yeah, Lando Norris is right behind now. Colapinto, he's just about to lap him. And then Perez is about to get lapped by Lando Norris, and then Hulkenberg ahead of them. It might be that he can get to Fernando Alonso as well. Alonso now, 2.4 seconds behind Carlos Sainz.
Lando in traffic, but as you go past Colapinto, he's in the 37s and 38s recently. He needs to be careful he doesn't let those tyres cool down too much. Needs to keep on it, but that's taken Colapinto right off the back of Perez.
When you move out of the way with these blue flags, obviously you get onto the marbles, you get off the racing line, and that might have just happened to the youngest driver in the field, the man from Argentina, because he's dropped back by about 2 and a bit seconds. Now, this doesn't surprise me at all that Lando Norris is currently leading the driver of the day. He has very much been the fans' favourite throughout this season.
It might be a little farewell and thank you there to Daniel, isn't there?
Yeah. I wouldn't be at all upset if Daniel Ricciardo got driver of the day today. if this is to be his last, he doesn't get that chance to say farewell in Abu Dhabi. I'm kind of with Ted Kravitz on this one. A real shame.
Yeah, we do have Norris behind. We're getting flashing blues at present. Let's be sensible where we let through. Come on, keep pushing.
Well, he's obliged, isn't he, Sergio Perez? It's not he can't hold Lando Norris up for any more. Is it three
marshals posts? Yeah. And you get a warning as well when you get within 3 seconds of the car, when he's within 3 seconds of catching you to lap you. And here then is Leclerc on the gearbox of George Russell.
Yeah, warning shots to George Russell. Not that he needs them, that the Scarlet Ferrari is right behind him. And the battle for 4th place is down to whether he can defend for the next 4 laps or so. This is Lando Norris lapping Franco Colapinto, and look at that. When lapping Colapinto there, he went a bit deep into the corner. Nothing too serious there, but doesn't want to do that too often.
He's having a few adventures, isn't he, in what is one of the most dominant displays we've seen in Formula 1 for a long time.
But it shows you, though, Martin, how dusty it gets offline here.
Yeah.
It's been quite dusty on the track, despite the high pressure wash that they put on it all weekend long. This is good stuff here from George Russell. He's keeping Charles Leclerc at bay on this particular lap. He's gone through all 4 DRS zones, and still he's holding on to that 4th place. As we watch from the rear of the Mercedes, Charles Leclerc has spent a long time in this race tucked up behind various drivers. He's had to work very, very hard for what is his current 5th place.
The tyre delta, as we like to impress ourselves with, the delta difference, 9 laps. Leclerc is tyres are 9 laps younger than George Russell's.
And that should help him. Is he going to make a move here? No. George Russell hasn't got the DRS advantage that Charles Leclerc has, because Leclerc's behind him, but he'll be using the electrical energy, the ERS system, and deploying it in places where Charles Leclerc gets DRS to try and neutralise the effects of that rear wing opening.
Why he bothered to try and go up the inside of 8? It just lost him a bit of a few metres there, Charles Leclerc.
But he's sticking as best he can over the Anderson Bridge there, down the inside potentially at turn 13 to George Russell. Maybe trying to catch George Russell a little bit by surprise there and go for an overtake in the part of the track where you don't normally see it. This is a little bit more usual from a DRS zone. If he can just hang on round that right-hander at turn 14, is there a move coming down the next DRS zone? I think George Russell got a really good exit out of that corner, and he keeps Leclerc at bay.
He does. Verstappen in the 135s now, but that's still a second off fastest lap, so he's not threatening fastest lap of Lando Norris.
Norris leads from Verstappen, from Piastri, and we have seen some close finishes in this season so far, but we're not seeing a close one at the moment. There's about 42 seconds in between the top 3 as Kevin Magnussen, back after missing Baku, is in the pit lane again, Ted.
Well, Magnussen is, but more to the point, Daniel Ricciardo is as well. A 3rd stop for Daniel Ricciardo. Don't go out like this, Danny Rick, with a 3-stop when everybody else is doing a 1.
No, Ted, I think I know what's happening here.
What's happening here?
Has he put a set of soft tyres on?
No, he already had a set of pretty knackered soft tyres on.
But I wonder, is Daniel Ricciardo going to take? Is he going to take the fastest lap in what could be his final Grand Prix?
Yeah, but 18th.
Yeah, but
it won't take a point. He could take a fastest lap.
Could take a fastest lap.
And crucially, he would take a fastest lap away from McLaren as Kylie Minogue gets ready to wave the checkered flag. Cue all amount of puns from Martin Brundle, who is the honorary member of the Kings Lynn Kylie Minogue fan club, I believe.
Indeed, my favourite grid walk interviewee, Kylie Minogue. Anyway, Charles Leclerc keeps sort of feigning up the inside of the wrong corners.
They have a very good traction again.
He needs to try and catch George Russell out here, try and surprise him some way, because the usual overtaking spots at the end of a DRS zone, George Russell seems to have it nicely covered. Good driving from George Russell to maintain this 4th place.
Yeah, I mean, the Ferrari's massively faster, we can see that. And Alonso now just 1.8 behind Sainz. He'll run out of laps, really, but he's definitely kept the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz very honest, as Fernando Alonso.
Here we go again. I think Leclerc's a little bit closer out of turn 5, but the straight line speed of the Mercedes is keeping Charles Leclerc at bay once more. This is without doubt the closest battle on the track currently, as our race leader Lando Norris starts his final lap of the race. Lando Norris, who started from pole here this afternoon and completed for the first time lap 1 from pole, still in the lead. He has led every single lap. He's got the fastest lap currently as well, and he is on his way to a perfect night out on the streets of Singapore, and he's got round about 12 corners to go, and that is what the performance will do to the championship lead. There'll be 51 points behind by the time we get to Austin.
Ricciardo fastest in the first sector. But this will spoil McLaren's perfection if he takes that fastest lap away.
It certainly will. The Grand Slam is on for Norris, bowing out in style for Daniel Ricciardo, or as much style as he can possibly muster with another fastest lap of his racing career. Lando Norris out of turn 13. Has a few more corners to go as George Russell starts his last lap in defence against Charles Leclerc. In between these two, Piastri and Verstappen will be completing the podium places, but there is the race leader, the man who has walked in on Thursday into the paddock with an air of confidence and a strut that said, these streets, this town, this could be my town, and this could be my moment. And just like he did in Zandvoort, Lando Norris has laid down a statement win here in Singapore tonight. Lando Norris wins the Singapore Grand Prix, and once again he wins by a distance. It is the 3rd Grand Prix win of the season for Lando Norris. It is not the fastest lap, though. Daniel Ricciardo has got that in what could be his final race. Max Verstappen will come home to take 2nd place to spoil the McLaren 1-2 and to keep as much of a charge going in his championship defence.
Ricciardo, of course, in the sister Red Bull team, has gone out and stolen a point off McLaren.
And whether that's crucial or not, by the time we get to Abu Dhabi, we'll see how it plays out. Oscar Piastri, it's another podium in Formula One for the young Australian. One last time out in Baku. It's a 9th podium in Formula One here tonight. And George Russell will come home as the lead Mercedes. Charles Leclerc fighting him all the way to the line. Great defence from Russell as he takes 4th place ahead of the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. Lewis Hamilton will come home in 6th. The start on soft tyres really didn't help him. Carlos Sainz 7th, and then Alonso, Hülkenberg and Perez completing the points here tonight. And in terms of making a point, he has. Lando Norris wins again.
Well, mate, good job.
Yeah, lovely job. Amazing car weekend. Thank you very much, everyone. One of many more. Let's keep pushing.
That was a champion's drive, wasn't it, from Lando Norris? Absolutely superb.
Fireworks, as is traditional here around this Marina Bay circuit, to illuminate the parts of the night sky where the lights over the track don't touch, and nobody could touch Lando Norris here tonight. That said, though, I think that is a fine drive from Max Verstappen, not just here in the race, Martin, but in qualifying yesterday, to put it on the front row. He's not giving up this title without a fight, and that was a real fight this weekend in a car that might not have been second best.
Well done, Max. You got every ounce of performance out of that today, so yeah, 8 points down to Lando. So you've driven a very strong weekend.
And your old pal Daniel picked up a fastest lap at the end as well, man.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, he's quickly understood the significance of that, hasn't he? You're right, it was a tremendous performance from Verstappen. The car's been reluctant, and somehow he still made it talk.
Well, Yuki Tsunoda could have picked up a fastest lap. Sergio Perez probably couldn't have picked up a fastest lap because they couldn't pit him. He would have lost 10th place. Daniel Ricciardo, they had nothing to lose by pitting him to go for that fastest lap. And I wonder, as a driver in the Red Bull pool, where that call came from to pit to the end to take the fastest lap, because it could be crucial. It might not be, but it could be crucial at the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if there's one point in it, there'll be.
Yes, let's go. P3. Well done, mate. Really good.
Thank you. Well done on the strategy. Worked out nice. And enjoy a little break.
Yeah, I mean, an interesting strategy, wasn't it? It looked like they were running him very, very long, but Piastri's pace after that made the difference.
They gave him the free air, didn't they, to exploit it. He managed his pace really well in the early stages, Oscar Piastri, to be able to do the lap times he needed long after everyone had pitted around him. Lando Norris climbs on top of his car. I wouldn't imagine he's got a huge amount of energy left to celebrate wildly with the team.
Zach Brown there, he's done a super job for McLaren, hasn't he? So, you know, the team been hella back, haven't they, with the Honda engine they had for a while, didn't they? And then went to Renault, and then to Mercedes. They struggled. They were last in the championship at the start of last year, and they really turned it around. And so
started going upwards, onwards, ever since Austria last year with that first raft of upgrades, and they've not slackened off the pace. And it's lovely for the sport to see McLaren in such rude health, and it's great for us all watching it to see a team take the fight to Red Bull, and then another team come and join the fight, and then on their day another team come and join the fight too. And it's a four-way battle from week to week to week. But tonight there was a big distance between Norris and Verstappen. And Norris, Verstappen, Piastri, and the rest. That's the car that I think they all want to be in at the moment.
yeah, and obviously different aero configuration to all the shenanigans we heard about at the weekend with rear wings on McLarens. Some talk, they point fingers at each other. It's all part of the game. It's all part of the game. You've got to slow your rivals down, and you've got to speed yourself up.
Very true. And that's the first Singapore Grand Prix then that we have never had a safety car at, which means for the 9th race in a row, no safety car. It was already the longest run, I think, since Monza 04 to Imola 05. Smiles from Oscar Piastri after that podium. They all go and get weighed at the end of this race, and the drivers estimate that they lose somewhere around 5 kilos during the course of 62 laps of the Singapore Grand Prix.
I mean, Russell top Mercedes over a minute behind.
In like an
Hamilton
hour
85
two,
seconds
I'll
behind.
continue, but I need to get some food
The
and
last
everything, so
driver not lapped, Carlos Sainz,
see you
in
later.
7th place. And he was only 3 seconds from being lapped.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I hope Lando's got his breath back and he's got enough energy to have a chat. And it looks like David Coulthard, former McLaren driver himself, of course, has a microphone in his hand, waiting to speak to our race winner for this evening, our runner-up and our 3rd place driver too. It's been another weekend for reflection for Max Verstappen. Shenanigans at FIA press conferences, community service orders from the governing body of the sport, reactions to it. I think where he cares the most is what happens on the track. And whilst he did the best he could, he had no answer.
So 6 Grand Prix, 3 sprints to go. Plenty of action to come. It's going to be close, isn't it, if it carries on like this? But you'd have to say Max is very much, well, Lando said it, it's Max's to lose.
Yep.
And I think tonight rather confirms that.
David Coulthard, as I said, has the microphone in his hand.
Oscar, after what was challenging qualifying, a really feisty race, some great overtakes and a well-deserved podium. Congratulations. Put us in the cockpit. How was it?
Warm is how it was. No, it was a good race, a good recovery from qualifying yesterday. It wasn't my my greatest afternoon yesterday, so to get back to the podium is a great result. I feel like we had a really quick car underneath us and a good strategy to get past the Mercedes. So yeah, big thank you to the team. Clearly the car was exceptional this weekend, and some great points for the whole team.
We saw your teammate having a couple of brushes with the walls. I didn't see any for you, but did you have any particular standout moments of difficulty during that race?
No, I think I kept it off him this time. I don't think I hit anything. Yeah, it was a bit close with George at turn 1, but no, once I got into third, I had a massive gap to try and close up, so I didn't want to take too many risks. But yeah, I feel like I've brushed enough walls in the last 2 weeks, so hopefully the mechanics don't have to change too many bits before next race.
Okay, well, Oscar, well done. Enjoy the podium celebration.
Thank you.
And then now our second place finisher, Max Verstappen. The sweat on your brow shows just how hard you had to work in that Grand Prix. Lando was in another class this race. Tell us, your Grand Prix, you had a difficult start, very close with Lewis at the first corner, and thereafter it was a fairly lonely race.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much my race, just by myself. Yeah, trying to do the best I could, trying to manage my own pace to the end. I think the first stint was a bit difficult for us, quite a bit of tire degradation. Second stint was a bit better. I was a bit more comfortable as well. So yeah, that's, I think on a weekend where we knew that we were going to struggle to be P2 is a good achievement. Of course, we're not happy with second. Now we just have to try and improve more and more, and that's what we'll try to do.
With Daniel Ricciardo getting the fastest lap right at the end, that meant that the point swing is now 52 points, where it could have been 51. It's being ebbed away, your championship lead.
Yeah, it is, but this also can change very quickly again, so we just need to keep on trying, keep to, of course, at one point try to overturn it a bit, not always finishing behind, but we'll see how that goes.
And physically, we can see the sweat on your brow, I presume you're so through. Just how tough was that race?
It's always tough around here, warm, and a very long race in general, so I'm looking forward to a bit of rest.
Okay, well, enjoy that and enjoy the podium. And finally, our race winner in what looked like a dominant victory. Lando, congratulations.
Thank you. It was an amazing race. A few too many close calls. I had a couple little moments in the middle, but was well controlled, I think, otherwise. And no, the car was mega, so I could push. We were flying the whole race, and yeah, at the end could just chill. So it was a nice race, still tough. I'm a bit out of breath, but a very fun one.
But you definitely earned your money today. The gap you had, though, did put our hearts in our mouths when we saw you have 2 brushes with the wall, an overshoot in one of the corners where you just touched the front wing, and then you had a little tap as well of the barrier. Did you need to be pushing that hard given the gap that you had?
I mean, it's not that you're necessarily over pushing. Sometimes it can be that you're just chilling too much. Maybe it's a bit of both. I don't know what it is, but it's tricky. It was still tough out there, easy to lock the tires like I did. So I still pushed. I didn't want to have a 1 second lead. I wanted to have the biggest lead possible. So it was good fun, maximum points. Nice to have Oscar here too on the podium. He drove well today, so a good day for the team also.
So your third victory in Formula One, physically your toughest?
Similar to Qatar last year, but I mean I wasn't taking it easy. I could have taken it a lot more easy. So yeah, a little dizzy at the minute, but all good.
All good. Oh well, Lando, it's a fantastic victory. I think I might have a solution if you're feeling dizzy.
Oh no.
You feeling better? I'll take a hug from a winner. Congratulations, Lando. Enjoy the podium.
To be honest, that is not the worst thing David Coulthard could do for anyone. And if he's got any more water, he might want to be chucking it over some more drivers, because clearly an exhausting Singapore Grand Prix tonight, not just without a safety car, the 15th running of the Singapore Grand Prix, but also the first one we've ever had without a yellow flag as well.
Extraordinary, isn't it? That, yeah, no incidents. Those that did clout the wall managed to carry on and either recover to the pits or just survive it all. And, yeah, that was a super dominant performance, though, wasn't it? But he actually looks the hottest of the three on the podium, doesn't he? I know what he means with that dizziness. It's sort of as the heat sort of seems to well up in you somehow when you stop.
You go kind of a bit cooler, but you know your body's on fire as such.
You can't get away from your own body, basically.
Hopefully, this is the ice cool down room tonight, because they need something cool. And driver of the day, Daniel Ricciardo, brilliant.
With the passing of the other cars, you think?
Not too bad, to be honest. I fucked myself a bit here. Well, George helped me too, it looks like. But, it wasn't too bad. It was more when I got to all the traffic again. Yeah, that's close. When I got to all the traffic again, it was a mess.
Is that one?
Yeah. Should I ask how your car was, or you staying away from it?
I mean, honestly, I think the second stint was not too bad.
Yeah.
For us, first stint was. At one stage, I thought he was going to lap me.
Oh, I did exactly the same.
You did that?
Yeah.
Nice.
Every lap. No, it's because there were so many marbles offline.
Yeah.
When you ever took a back marker or something.
K-Mate got a puncture right in front of me, so I had to go around the outside of turn 10 for the next like 3 laps.
Shit.
Oh my god.
No way. Should have released the brake a little bit.
I actually shit myself.
So without using swear words, how did you feel when you did that moment?
Did you produce a little bit?
Funky.
Oh, that was a lot closer than I thought it was.
Smooth.
I nearly spun after the line at turn 1.
Some great interaction between the two drivers. If you heard any language that you didn't enjoy, apologies for that. What I would never apologise for is Max Verstappen saying, I thought you were going to lap me. I thought that was quite funny. And the reaction of Max to watching Lando's brush with the wall, or near brush with the wall, for the first time.
Yeah, it's great to hear all their adventures, isn't it? And the problems that they encounter with marbles and stuff that we don't get to see or fully appreciate. But Max and Lando are on the same jet home, aren't they? They certainly arrived on the same jet, so that'll be quite the party tonight, especially with a bit of a break to the next Grand Prix.
Yes, quite. A few weeks to go. Now, McLaren are on a decent run in 2024, we know that. 18 podiums now they've scored this season, the most by any constructor. And this is the 14th race in a row that you've seen a McLaren driver, or at least one, on a Grand Prix podium. It's Oscar Piastri, still the only driver to complete every racing lap this season as well, 1,083 so far. Max Verstappen on the podium for his second time in the last 6 races. And for Lando Norris, well, he's finally managed it, not just to win from pole, but to lead the first lap from pole as well. So we can stop talking about that one as a possible jinx for the future. 7th, 4th, 2nd, and now 1st, progressively finishing higher every year here in Singapore. God Save the King. Playing out in the night time here in Singapore. And the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Trade and Industry hands out the trophy to Lando Norris, who will not want to trade that in for anything, and what an industrial win that was for him and for McLaren this evening. Medals handed out as well for the winning drivers by the FIA. Constructors' Trophy. Another one to add to the trophy cabinets at Woking at the McLaren Technology Centre. If you've ever been there, you go down the boulevard, past some of the old classic cars, and then before you can get anywhere near the staff restaurant, there are the trophy cabinet. So all the employees every single day walk past all the trophies that have been handed out. It's